Topic is how to be highly effective, and I'm focusing on responsibility. Freedom and responsibility, they go together. There is no freedom without responsibility. It is very, very important we understand this. So, freedom is synonymous with responsibility. So, if you don't take responsibility, it's difficult to have freedom. That's why if you look at the page today, I'm saying freedom, responsibility, third one, because I highlighted it. Responsibility is very, very important, because you cannot, expect you cannot expect yourself to have freedom if you don't take responsibility. Because without responsibility, without responsibility and accountability, we can't have freedom. That's why it's very, very important for everyone to understand this, because when you take responsibility, you begin to live again. When you take responsibility, you begin to have the freedom. Freedom and independence are not the same. They are not synonymous. Most of us mistake freedom and independence. Independence means you are free, but freedom comes at a price. So if you don't know the price the freedom costs, that means you can't take responsibility. That's why people who take responsibility know the price of freedom. It is not something that comes very easy. So responsibility is critical in our life. The reason why we see a lot of us making mistakes and a lot of us not living casually is because we don't know what it means to take responsibility. And because we don't know what it means to take responsibility, we don't have freedom. So freedom is critical. Responsibility is also critical, because the responsibility is something that empowers that freedom. The freedom to produce their own food, the freedom to, take initiative, the freedom to do things as you like, the freedom to do things the way, the freedom to feed yourself, the freedom to have electricity in your home, the freedom to have electricity in your country, the freedom to, plant your own corn, plant your own rice, the freedom to do great things. So that's why it looks as if Africans today do not have freedom, because we fail to take responsibility. What we love is to blame all the whole world. So blaming blaming diminishes us. So we cannot continue to blame the whole world for our mishap or for our misadventure. We have to take responsibility. So we see our political leaders. They blame the population. They blame the citizens. You have to be stupid in order to blame your citizens. It is the responsibility of a leader to lead. It is the responsibility. If a leader keeps on blaming the citizens, that means that leader does not understand what it's supposed to do. That's why leadership is very, very important. So we have African leaders, especially Nigerian leaders. They keep on blaming the population. They keep on blaming the citizens. How can you blame the citizen? You've been handed over. You've been given the responsibility to do something. Because you don't have that you don't want to take responsibility, and because of that, you are blaming the citizens. Is it not what you tell the citizens that they do? If you can't motivate them, if you cannot live by example, there is no way the society will change. So everything the society needs is a good leader, effective leadership. And that is what is lacking in Nigeria. And it's not only in Nigeria, the whole of Africa, majority of African countries do not have effective leaders. And because we don't have effective leaders, that means it's difficult to take responsibility, and that means it's difficult to have freedom. And then we end up blaming the whole world. We end up blaming colonial masters. We end up blaming the Chinese. I think in the next 100 years, we end up blaming the Indians. So it is very, very important today for us to understand that we have to take responsibility. Because if you don't take responsibility, even in your business, even in your workplace, there is nothing you can achieve. If you don't take responsibility, you can't take initiative. If you don't take responsibility, you can't think of starting your own business. You can't think of doing things on your own. That's why the issue of responsibility keeps on trumping up. Because we are created to have freedom. God created us in his own image. And God has absolute freedom. And he wants us also to have freedom. He doesn't want us to be in slavery. That's why he gave us powerful mind, so that we can take responsibility, so that we can be free. You cannot, you cannot enslave somebody who has a free mind. You cannot enslave somebody who has knowledge. And the issue of knowledge comes into this place. Now, if you want to know what is going on in Nigeria today, or in any of the African countries, you will understand that the leaders, what they aim at is to maintain ignorance. Where any country you go in and you see ignorance, that means the leader is maintaining that. And the only way to rule people and to control them in a negative way is to maintain ignorance. So, drawing it closer to Nigeria now, you see, the standard of education has fallen. Nobody's talking about education. Nobody's talking about history. Nobody's talking about wisdom. Nobody's talking about knowledge. Because the leaders thrive, bad leadership thrives in maintaining ignorance. When you see bad leadership, when you see the masses that are not working, that are not effective, is because the leader maintains ignorance. Because once somebody's mind is educated, you cannot enslave him. Education, I mean, is not having a degree. Education, I mean, is having the chain in your mind removed. You could be educated, you could have the best degree, but there is a chain in your mind, it hasn't been removed. So an educated person is somebody whose chain, the chain in the mind has been broken. If you remove the chain in your mind, you are not educated. You are just going to school to memorize and just get knowledge. And that's it. You are not educated. An educated person cannot be enslaved. An educated person cannot be deceived. And this is the reason most of African leaders, especially in Nigeria, we keep on maintaining ignorance. Because we don't want change. Because we don't want our people to wake up from slumber. And the purpose of this video today is to help Nigerians, Africans, to wake up from slumber. Because we've been sleeping for a long time. We've been out enough. Time has come for us to take responsibility. Time has come for us to show accountability, be accountable to what we do. Time has come for us to question things. See, once you have freedom, you no longer ask people, you don't ask people for acceptance again. You don't work for acceptance. So once you have freedom, acceptance is there and there. You've gotten acceptance already. You don't seek acceptance. Because when you are seeking acceptance, you are patronizing. You are undermining yourself. And then, in that process, you should sell yourself. You should change yourself. So that's why today is very, very important for us first and foremost to understand that we have to take responsibility. And that taking responsibility means taking initiative, begin to do things on our own, and to stop blaming other people, stop blaming other countries, stop blaming other continents, and stop blaming the world for your misadventures. If the price of the crude oil has dropped, you don't blame the world. You blame yourself because you've not been able to take responsibility as to account for the money you've been getting from oil for almost 50 years. You haven't been able to diversify. So responsibility is very, very important. That's why it is coming up often and on. I keep on talking about it. So because at this moment, I'm not going to keep quiet till about 10% of Nigerians begin to understand what we're saying, until about 10% of Nigerians wake up from their slumber. Because if we are not able to get about 10%, it's difficult to produce a change that can that can help us to have a good environment, that can help us to thrive, a good environment that can motivate and encourage people, the citizens, to thrive. So that's why today we are always talking about responsibility. Responsibility starts from home. It starts from your relationship with your family. It starts from your relationship to your community. It starts from your relationship to the entire state and then to the entire country. So responsibility is the key. So because we don't take responsibility, that is why we don't know how to manage our finances. We don't know how to manage our budgets. Because look at, we have budgets. We have money allocated for development. We have money allocated for installing electricity and transformers, and then designing and constructing roads. But what happened is that you see one political leader putting all the whole money in his pocket. Why would somebody do that? Somebody does that because the person does not understand what freedom means. Somebody does that because the person does not understand what responsibility means. The person doesn't understand that he has sabotaged himself. So the essence of this video is to educate our people. You cannot get this thing in school, because in school, the school is already skewed. It's already one-sided. That is why after education, after graduating, having degree or having a PhD, you don't seem to understand what freedom means. Because freedom comes from revelation of things. It's not only about knowledge, it's about revelation, a deeper understanding of things. So if you don't have insight, you will not understand what freedom means. You could be having your degree, carrying your papers, clutching them, in between your arms, but you don't know what to do with it. The reason why we don't know how to control things, we cannot handle things, is because we don't have sense of responsibility. We don't understand what it means to be free. We don't understand freedom. So it's a huge problem for us. Everybody is saying different things, but the key thing is this responsibility, the power to understand that you need to take responsibility, the power that you have to understand that freedom is synonymous with responsibility. When do we start taking responsibility? Are we going to postpone the issue of taking responsibility so that our great-grandchildren will be solving the problem? Remember, the problem you didn't solve today is gonna be very difficult for your children to solve them. That's why it's necessary for us to understand that we have to survey the situation. We have to come together and understand that we have to begin to take responsibility. You see, if individually we are doing well. So to collect individual money does not mean anything. It's only a comfort. It's like a false comfort. It's like a short-term, comfort that you get. But in the long run, you find out that you've not made any impact. That's why most Africans don't understand that we have to work collectively. You have to work together in order to make impact, in order to change things. Individual money making do not make an impact. It doesn't make a difference. It doesn't, give us the wisdom. It doesn't make us to be people that are intelligent or people that have wisdom. Anybody can make money, but not anybody can come together. It's easier to make money, but it's difficult to pool your resources collectively. Our problem is pulling our resources collectively, pulling our knowledge collectively, putting them together. Don't tell me you have aircraft. Don't tell me you have 700 Airbuses. It doesn't make any meaning. You can be having a private jet. It's useless because you cannot work collectively. It's useless because where you're going, you don't have electricity. You don't have roads. You don't even have water to drink. So it's high time we try to make it so that our people will understand the stages of progress. Honestly, there hasn't been any growth in Africa. Since independence, there hasn't been any growth. Whatever you think, whatever you're saying that is a growth, you can say it. The evidence there shows it. Look at our hospitals. Some hospitals don't have don't have beds. So can you tell me where we have that growth since independence? We can't feed ourselves. There's no electricity. So tell me on what basis you say Nigeria is growing, there's a growth level. Look at the percentage. There's no growth. We're not evolving. We're not changing. So the purpose of this video is to get you out of this mindset of thinking that there's a growth in the economy. There'll be no growth in the economy. People don't grow. People are not evolving. The archaic rules and regulations and laws we've been using since 1960 is what we're using today. So are we evolving? We are not evolving. People are dying of hunger. You know how many percent of Nigerians that are dying of hunger? How many percent of Nigerians that are homeless? So when you put these things together, you'll find out that we are not evolving. We are not growing. There is no growth. Look at our road network. They are impassable. Look at our homes. So where will I stop? Where will I begin? Where will I stop? It is all over the place. We can't manage ourselves. We can't manage our infrastructure. There's no infrastructures. If there are infrastructures, we can't even manage it. So we can't even manage them. So the important thing is for us to understand that we have to take responsibility. If there is no sense of responsibility, I'm afraid there will be no growth. The growth you are perceiving today is a false one. The ones that the IMF is telling you just a fake one, so that they give you loan and then you get indebted. Nigeria got about a few days ago 3.5 billion from IMF. About that from IMF, and for emergency, borrowing all the time. And then the money will eventually come back to the IMF, come back to the Europeans that gave you the money, because they know that we have bad leaders. We have poor leadership. And because of that, the money is a matter of 2 years. The money will be back to IMF. And they're giving you false hope that they're growing. If you look at the data and what you're seeing, they don't synchronize. So how are we growing? How are we evolving? We are still borrowing the way we've been borrowing. We can't feed ourselves. We do not have electricity. We do not have hospitals. There's no healthcare system. Now, there is coronavirus everywhere. So how are we going to cope? Because we have not been investing in the infrastructure, in our health facilities. For more than 40 years, 50 years, the oil money was coming, we were not investing. And that is why in our hospitals today, we don't have beds, we don't have equipment, we don't have anything. We don't even have a proper trained doctors and nurses. So I cannot stop this. Most people say, why are you talking? For me, it is embarrassment. I'm being embarrassed that I came from a country for more than 50 years, they've not evolved. For more than 50 years, they've not changed. Because we can't keep quiet. We have to keep on saying it. We have to, keep on pressing till Nigerians will wake up, till the knowledge go in from one ear and then and get into their mind. So, because if we keep silent, then we're going to be colonized by China. China is making the move now, but people don't see it. Colonization comes gradually. China is colonizing Africa, but you wouldn't know. Some people are relaxing their guard and think Chinese people are not going to be your friend. They are there to colonize you because they know you cannot take decision. They know you cannot take initiative. They know that you don't know what freedom means. They know that you can't take responsibility. They know you can't feed yourself. They know even if the whole money is put in your pocket, you're not going to make use of it. The best thing you can do is to send it overseas. And then dump it in Swiss bank and then come to your village and stay there without electricity and without hospital and without road. How shameful it is. So why are we keeping quiet? Are we saying that it is all right? Are we saying what we're observing is good? Well, somebody like me, I don't understand this. And that is why I keep talking, because I know it will make impact. I know that people's minds have to change. We have to change our mindset. We don't have excuses now. Like I said, we've been out enough. We don't have excuses anymore. What we say is an excuse. It's not an excuse. So the burden is on our leaders. Like I said, a leader cannot afford to be blaming the citizens. If you must lead, you must be, you must have the vision. You must have the reason. You must have the strategy. You must have the plan. So your plan is not to come there and start blaming people. Your plan is, your strategy is not to come and blame the citizens. I say, oh, they are rubbish people. But you've been given the power, you've been given the money, you've given everything, but you don't know what to do. Because you don't know what to do, then you go about blaming the citizens. Because you refuse to understand that leadership is important. Because you refuse to understand that leadership is about you doing something. It's about you living by example. Leadership is not about overseas for medical treatment, sending all your family to overseas. Well, this is another story. So time has come for us to roll our sleeves and say, look, we got to do something. We can't continue to be blaming the citizens. Our political elites, this is a message to you. I know you love maintaining ignorance, and that's why you are not interested in the educational system. Because the only way to, to misrule people and to, destroy people is to maintain ignorance. And I'm appealing to Nigerians to open your mind, to wake up from slumber. So that these political elites that have fed us will not continue to misdirect, to misguide us. We also have opportunity to elect proper leaders, elect effective people. Stop electing criminals. You know them. There is no way somebody who is an outsider can develop a country. Our political leaders are outsiders. How do I know by the outsiders? Because they invest all their money outside. Because they maintain ignorance. Any political leader can maintain his investment, overseas, especially government money, taking government money overseas. That person is an outsider. And outsiders do not develop a nation. They do not develop a country. So we have to, you have to have a clear eye assessment, clean our eyes, see who we're gonna elect, see who is qualified, see who is gonna make changes. It is you voting somebody who has defrauded the country and thinking it's gonna change. It's not gonna change. 2023 is coming now, and we are again gonna vote political leaders who have duped and destroyed the economy. Is it because of ignorance? How can you vote a political leader that is almost a billionaire that stole all the whole money and converted it to his own private money? And then you are voting him in again, giving them the opportunity to steal more and more and more, and leaving you impoverished. You have opportunity. And you will have choice. It is your choice now. You've got opportunity all the time to make a clear choice. Making a clear choice means having a clear eye assessment. Stop voting. Stop voting in criminals to lead you. Stop voting billionaires who made a lot of money from you, who do not have the interest of you in their heart. See, if somebody dupes you first, you should know that the person dupes you. Our political leaders have duped us. And why is it that we're not speaking? Why is it we're accepting it? And that is why it looks as there's no growth. Because there will be no growth, there will be no innovation. Because they can't create a good environment for people to innovate. Nigerians are intelligent people. But they cannot, tap into their potential if the environment is not there. And these political elites that have been duping us are the ones that are stealing our future. They cannot create a comfortable environment for you to have your education, for you to work, for you to live a normal life. There is no way we can grow if we don't have a good environment. And providing a good environment cannot be provided by somebody who has no sense of responsibility, who has no accountability, who cannot, be accountable. So why do we vote? Why do we allow criminals? Why do we vote criminals? And then expecting a different result. They say you can't keep on doing the same thing over and over expecting a different result. We can't have a different result, my people. I cannot allow somebody who duped me first one to dupe me again. So most of our political leaders have made money off us and they're not interested in developing the place. They're interested in running down and then going overseas for medical treatment and going overseas to live. And they're leaving you down home, they're penniless and powerless, impoverished. And then people are dying. Now coronavirus is around. COVID-19 is around. We don't have hospitals. We don't have facilities. We can't even maintain the isolation or going for quarantine because we haven't got the money. Overseas here, they are capable of asking their citizens to stay indoors because they could pay them. But we haven't got the money to pay our citizens. So we have the money gone. Because the political elites stole them. This is the truth. And we must say the truth. Because we have nothing to lose. So I'm encouraging Nigerians to speak out. To speak out. You know, to shun timidity and passivity. It doesn't help us. We've been passive. We've been timid enough. It is not normal. I won't even allow my child to be silent over this kind of thing. So silence is not normal. Silence is not golden in this kind of situation. So we have to, you know, applaud Nigerians that are speaking out, that are expressing themselves. Because if you don't express yourself, you have nothing to gain in this world. You might say, what impact is what I'm saying is making a huge impact. Because people are listening. People are not animals. I know one day they will rise up. One day they wake up. So Nigerians, wake up. Start taking responsibility. Stop blaming the Chinese. The Chinese are in business. They are in business of, you know, taking the resources. They are in business of taking over Africa. So if you and I don't stand on our feet, the next generation will blame us. Just as we are blaming people who, our forefathers, how they were there and they were colonized by British and the Chinese, the Europeans. The scramble for Africa is a history. Is a story, is a reality. So, do you want to tell me it's totally justified for us to keep quiet and we see ourselves being colonized again, being enslaved? Honestly, history will not forgive me if I keep quiet. I don't know about you. My children will one day ask me, what did you do? Did you speak up? Did you speak out? I will say, yes, I did. And that is what I'm doing today. You can blame me as much as you like. You're not going to stop me. Because once you get knowledge, you are unstoppable. Knowledge is important. Once you get it, you're unstoppable. So, because when you have knowledge, you cannot be enslaved. You can't keep an educated mind. You know, you don't tell him to keep quiet. You don't muzzle him. So it's necessary that educated minds we have in Nigeria for them to speak up. If we are not speaking up, we are doing the service to ourselves. If we don't speak up, we are doing the service to our children and our great-grandchildren. Yes, you might tell me, this guy, you're always talking. Yes, I have to say it because I know what I don't want to be a slave. Full stop. I don't want to be a slave. That's why I'm speaking about it now. One moment. I don't want to be a slave. And I don't want my children to be slaves again. So that's why I'm speaking. So, because speaking up is important. Because speaking up raises awareness. Speaking up makes things to change. If the society is not changing, speaking up will drum it and force them to change. Will make them evolve. I bet you, if you have about 10 people speaking about this, by the time you know it, you have 2,000 people speaking about them. I am saying to you, if you have 100 people talking about what I'm saying now, By the time, in the next 1 month, you see about 10,000 people talking the same thing. And that is how knowledge, how the knowledge is being spread. So we cannot afford to be silent anymore. We cannot be afford to say, "Oh, talking is cheap." If you say talking is cheap, come and talk, and let's hear you. The act of speaking is divine. You cannot speak unless God allows you. It came from God. Speaking is speaking the truth. Because truth is the only thing that changes the world. I'm not talking about speaking any other nonsense. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is speaking out the truth. The truth is what moves the world. The truth is what changes the world. This world would have sunken if people don't speak out, if people don't speak the truth. So don't blame me for speaking, because I'm not going to stop. I have nothing to lose. It is you that is silent that has much to lose. Because by being quiet, you've already taken a decision without you knowing. So it is important we start speaking up. It is important we speak out. We can't hide anymore. And we can't keep on blaming the colonial masters and blaming the Chinese. The people that need to change things are our leaders. We should be holding our leaders to account. We should be asking our leaders to start taking responsibility if we are going to have freedom, because freedom comes at a huge price. If any freedom that didn't come at a huge price do not last. Every freedom in the world came at a price. And if something doesn't cost you anything, it doesn't last. It doesn't make meaning. It doesn't have value. So time has come for us to rethink. Time has come for us, to see how can we make difference. How can we make a difference in the society? How can we be different? How can we keep on, blaming the colonial masters, people, something that happened 100 years, 200 years ago? The world has evolved. The world has changed. And we're sticking to the old system, the system that, that discourages progress, the system that, imprisons your mood, imprisons your mind. People are no longer chained on their feet now. People are only chained in their mind. And the only way to unchain yourself is by getting knowledge, by looking for insight, by looking for revelation for you to understand. So I'm beginning to wind down now. First and foremost, we have to start taking responsibility. Because I know, even if it's only me that's taking responsibility, it's not enough. We need more people to take responsibility. At least 10% of the population. We cannot move the country forward if 10% of the population are dwelling in ignorance. When the 10% of people are silent. When 10% of people are silent over what is happening. We need to take responsibility if we must have freedom. All the whole world have freedom except Nigerians and Africans. I don't care about how much money you make, so long as you don't understand the equation of life. You can make money, but it doesn't mean you understood the equation of life. And that's why the money you made after 2 years or 10 years becomes zero. So the important thing is for you to understand the equation of life. It is not your qualification. I'm not alarmed by any qualification. I'm not perturbed by any qualification because I know that it does not explain the equation of life. That's why Nigerians are the most educated people, even in America, but it doesn't translate to anything. So it's like acquiring a degree. It does not change the equation of life. Understanding the equation of life means you got to have insight. It is beyond the book, something you get in the classroom. It's common sense. Common sense means you have to be able to plant your own corn, produce your own rice. You being able to produce things for your own self, being able to feed yourself, being able to organize yourself, being able to run your own government. We can't have respect in the world if we can't run our own government, if we cannot run our own country in a proper way. Why do we have to keep on begging and begging and begging? Look at now, the coronavirus has arrived and we're begging almost everything. We are begging money. We are begging for medical facilities. We are begging Chinese doctors. Is it not shameful? Even when we have doctors at home. So, responsibility is important. If we must have freedom, everybody craves for freedom. But there is no freedom, there is no responsibility. If there is no freedom, if there is no responsibility, there is no freedom. Freedom comes with responsibility. Freedom and responsibility are inseparable. Therefore, take responsibility, my people. Thank you.